Okay. It has been a week, and I don't have a beard anymore, and I really don't know how to feel about that. It's the 3-on-1 podcast. I'm Matt Ryan, joined alongside Cory Hammond and Big Rob Fabian. Hi, Rob. It's been a while.
What's up, guys?
You're busy giving on the lecture circuit, fucking talking about how not to be ass. The Willie Loman of the A7FL.
Little known fact, if you listen closely to the court episode, Rob does make a cameo appearance. And by listen closely, I mean really closely, because he doesn't. But if you fall for it,
but let's get that part out of the way, because the other podcast talked about it, I think, probably, but Chris wasn't there. We had a court case on Friday, and in 16 years of broadcasting, there are very few times during a podcast recording where I'm like, oh, this has gotten out of hand. We need to stop now.
And that's amazing, considering that I've been your co-host for a while at this point.
Almost a year and a half now, and you've been my announcing partner for 6 years.
But Pod Cory and Game Cory, we were actually
two different guys. I
button up. Literally, I used to actually wear a suit and button up, but I was told that was too
man, it's hot as hell.
Yeah,
Gen X or whatever.
I think what I told Cory was, fuck this shit. I'm not wearing this anymore. Neither are you. I'm making sure we don't have to do this anymore. And I don't mind.
What are you, a fucking boomer? Take off the jacket and just wear a polo. And I never felt more like a boomer, wanting to still wear the jacket. But anyway.
But I started wearing suits and all that stuff. Like, I don't mind wearing a suit for stuff, but doing a broadcast in a suit is fucking uncomfortable. It just is.
What are you talking about?
Just is.
If James Bond can save the world for what?
Yeah,
60
James
years
Bond wasn't doing a hockey
suit?
all-star game outside in January in Pennsylvania. James Bond can go fuck his mother.
If James Bond had to announce a hockey game to save the world, he would kill it, even in an American accent, if he had to.
Recording.
Hey, how's it going? It's the 3-on-1 podcast. I'm Matt Ryan, joined by Big Rob Fabian and Cory Hammond. And well, lots been going on, and we're glad to have Rob back from his speaking tour across the upper middle northeast western. So good to have you back, Rob.
Great to be back.
He's not listened to the court case yet, but we will hopefully have his review after this podcast is recorded. Don't know if the other side of the ball literally talked about this, but we're done. That's it. Cory won. A decision has been rendered.
Nice.
Shout out to the Patterson U for being a weirdly very the dumbest thing I've ever been a part of. And that says a lot.
Which is that's seriously saying something. I've been your partner in a lot of broadcasts, so for that to be the worst or the most or the
weirdest, it's not the worst.
Yes,
I wouldn't. Chaos, calamity, and proprietarity.
Don't say chaos. We're not allowed to say that for a couple of episodes. Sorry, Vegas. He didn't mean it.
Rob, what in the sweet mother of Batman is going on in the Mid-Atlantic region of this league? Because we're hearing a lot of stuff. I'm looking at rosters because we're getting rosters in. And one thing that we were told was going to happen, multiple things we told as are to happen in this fun, but also very frustrating to cover when you're told, oh yeah, this is a thing. You hear from 99% of the parties involved. Like the only person you don't hear from is the towel guy. And then you're like, oh, that was a lie. Or that wasn't what...
Listen,
15 times a day.
I feel like it's the week or the 2-week period, 1 month before the season.
And that's what we're in right now.
I'll call it the Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone, tons of crazy things happen. Someone will come on to corroborate with second, third sources to just make sure that we're not, putting ourselves in a bad position. And it's completely confirmed. Yeah. Then guess what happens?
People will
Whoopsie.
come on the
And
show
then we get stuff like
and
this.
announce things themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't fair because that team just kind of went away.
And it's the
I mean, nostalgic and want to create their old teams and bring that shit back. That's kind of what it's always been. So you truly,
Ryan's trying to do an old timers league.
Listen, I always say you don't know who's playing until the first first game of the season. You don't know
Matt
who's
sees
playing.
Well, you guys can see the rosters
He kind
too,
of
but
knows.
But those guys might not show up.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying.
If
like,
you
true.
register and
Look
you
at the
don't
bag
show
weight
up, that
nonsense.
just seems like a wasted exercise.
well, ask BIC what Matt Riddick and those guys were doing. They were playing flag football. So
But with the conversations that were going on in the background about a former A7FL championship team returning to the A7FL this year,
just rumbling them around in the muck, trying to get things started.
They tried to chomp down on something, but now it seems that they will be charging into the A7FL alongside Charles Sharp Jr., and good on him. Like that,
that's a great pickup.
Right now, that puts them, in my opinion, in the 2 spot in the DMV. That puts them in, because when you look at the 3 quarterbacks in that division, even though Lenny was a part of 2 of the most crucial plays in this league's history, the guy that was on the other side of it with him.
Here's the beauty of it, right? I've heard absolutely nothing, and I'm happy that I've heard absolutely nothing because we have it on paper that John Goss is now on the Nova charge. Because what we were hearing was a bunch of bullshit, and people still not, really sure where they wanted to go, or what they wanted to do, or if their team was coming back. If not, are we going back to the buzz? All that is quiet now because the paperwork says what it says. No, we didn't talk to Ace. We didn't talk to anyone. We just looked at the rosters, and there it is: John Goss, Nova charge. And honestly, it's a great pickup. I think that was very smart from what did you say?
Charles Sharp Jr. Rastaman Flash.
Charles Sharp Jr. Rastaman Flash. Shouts to him for that pickup. And you just, you've now made your team very competitive. And people have to start paying attention now. Everybody who thought the Nova charge is going to be an easy win, now you might have to reconsider taking your vacation
and that's whether or not John Goss Jr. is healthy for a whole season. And that pitches to me.
But the other thing
I was going to ask you a question, Corey. Go ahead.
The other thing but the other thing about seeing his name on the roster, at least right now, the rest of the associated names are not. But one could assume, just like what we talked about last year with Huff, when the quarterback goes and he's got like that following of those core guys that he's played in this league with for a really long time, and Gauze has those. Right. We shouldn't necessarily assume that they're all going to go or 100% because it's a safe bet. I'd say it's the favorite, and even though we don't necessarily see those names on the roster now, we can maybe conjecture that those rest of, and we danced around the names, but those rest of those Gators, traditionally Gators guys are probably joining John Gauze. And I think the interesting thing to talk about with the DMV is almost, I know we said we were going to stop pissing off Vegas, but sorry, Vegas. But that conversation about super team, and then the other conversation that kind of like orbits it in this weird, and then they line up in a solar eclipse like right now. What's better for the division? Is it having 2 teams that can compete to get to like that Final Four-ish area where the Rare Breed and the Gators were always at, but they never could kind of crack the Northeast? Or was it better last year when it was those two teams combined? They won the Northeast and damn near would have been in the final if it wasn't for basically a messianic performance from Mark Bagway in that Eastern Conference final game. Say what you want about the Watchmen, that last year's roster was, if not the second or third best, they might have been the first best roster. They just ran into the buzzsaw that they ran into in Ohio that day. But we're now...
You ask a lot of good questions, but then, like, when in my mind I want to answer them, you say a whole bunch of other words, and it's like, damn, well, I lose.
All right, so let's break it down.
You asked a really good question, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
What's better for the league?
Okay, there we go.
Watchmen or Watchmen and whatever we're going to call the Gators guys going somewhere else where it's apparently the Nova Charge.
Matt, you want to take
yeah,
it first?
I think that having the 3 best quarterbacks in Baltimore, and you can say for other people, like former quarterbacks of the Patterson U, that there is some depth there, but you put the 3 best quarterbacks in that division on separate teams, it brings it down to the other positions. It makes the games more interesting. It creates a lot more opportunities for other players to step up in other roles. It's how we got a Rostamon Flash last year, like guys like Snag Sosa going to Patterson and setting up over there.
Right.
It creates more opportunities for new guys to come up. We saw with Sterry Codrington on the BIC in 2021 when CP3 went down. But for me, I think the division, a division is only as good as their weakest team sometimes. And for the DMV, I feel like that matters because they've been a team that's been on the doorstep of the championship every year I've been here.
But is the DMV as a division further away or closer today now that they have the 2 teams?
They're further away.
Because the Watchmen, like I said, the Watchmen, even though I was like word salading and talking, the Cory counter was going. The Watchmen last year, their roster, when you look at the depth, the level of talent at each of the most important positions, when you look at everything that you measure a team with, that Watchmen team had it.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we're not going to debate whether they had it or not. Like they definitely did. And to answer your question, no, the DMV is a little bit further away, but I mean,
but isn't it better? My contention would be, isn't it better for the league to have more parity as opposed to?
It's a difference between being better for the league and then better for the teams and better for these specific people.
Because when you say what's better for the league, I mean, the league and the players aren't necessarily the same thing. Like as a player, what do you think is better? If I was on the Watchmen last year and the 2 behemoths in BIC and the U went down, which we haven't seen a chip without them in
2019
years. So it's like
2018.
Exactly. So,
2019 when the Immortals won.
No, but that was that chip
chip with them. Guys. Yeah, so 2018. Yeah. Guess who the teams were?
The 2 Baltimore teams.
The 2 Baltimore teams that basically formed into the amalgamation that we have now.
Right, but back then parity was better because everything wasn't consolidated the way it's consolidated now. You didn't have BIC poaching all the best players in New Jersey to then bring them there. Like the recruiting, BIC's recruiting honestly has destroyed the league. Because I
think it was going to end up this way anyway. Like we could look this week, the NCAA and the NIL was basically opening the barn door for football and basketball. You can do whatever the fuck you want basically now. It's the Wild West, and the A7FL is basically that. And when you're in a free market, this is what happens. And when you're expanding, this is what happens because this is the. I don't know if there's ever been a free agency period or a postseason period where it's been this chaotic and noisy across the league. Because there will be, because last year Florida was quiet. Ohio was, the Chaos are on their way. What is that going to be? And Vegas was loud and noisy. DMV was loud and noisy for not great things. But
I think that's more so because everything's bigger now, Paul. Like you have more states, more teams involved, more people involved. There's more hands in the pot. So naturally, it's a lot of quote unquote buzz, no pun intended, across states. But it doesn't necessarily mean anything big is actually happening. You know what I'm saying? Like what's really the biggest news in this off season that we've had besides Huff going back to the U and now John Goss? Well, then again, John Goss, again, moving sideways. He moved laterally from the Buzz to the Nova Charge. It doesn't really...
Well, he went from the Watchmen to the Buzz to the Nova Charge.
Right.
There's this stuff going on with Trey Robinson. That's official. He's on the BIC's roster. He's actually on the roster.
And I'm still on record saying that shit is dumb. I'm sorry. All the out of state guys jumping to go play on BIC is dumb. I think it's stupid.
Well, it's a nice storyline for what it is, but I actually had a brief conversation with Derek Duncan about this specific issue, and of course he had his little slant to it because he's a Vegas guy.
He owns the Nevada division and the majority of the LA division. So,
well, and you know has a personal relationship with Trey and all that kind of stuff. But the point was that I was making is like what we're talking about today. Trey going to BIC is probably a really good thing for Trey if that's what he wants to do, obviously, but also a good thing for BIC if that's what they intended to have happen. But what it isn't as good for is the league if he were to go where he was originally thinking, like maybe going to Ohio and bringing, I don't even know if it would be credibility, but it would definitely be intrigue.
It would be bringing a guy who helped win a national championship to a division. Is it
Rob, you can say that it's not bringing anything, but to bring somebody that's been played in this league since the Pennsylvania had a presence. But what's the narrative?
What's the narrative? What was the narrative when we realized Trey Robinson was from Pennsylvania and he won a championship? That means the East Coast is still dominant, right? Because that's who he is. He's an East Coast guy. That's not. And then he goes and he actually wins a championship on the Insomniacs. Not saying that he didn't play the most pivotal role, but in that third quarter when RTC wasn't himself, they put Trey in and Trey put in work. So that third quarter was all Trey Robinson. Cool. Now he wins a national championship, goes to Ohio and does what? Win a couple games and he adds what? An East Coast guy that just won a chip in Vegas going to Ohio. So when is Ohio going to bring talent?
Rob,
when are we going to give them the opportunity?
Do you want to watch right now? Do you want to watch any of the Ohio games?
No.
Okay. Now, if I told you that Trey Robinson was the quarterback of the Chaos,
wouldn't watch it.
Was putting up numbers, and the Final Four matchup would be what then? If the Chaos win chalk and Insomniacs win chalk, it would be Chaos Insomniacs. Is that not a better storyline than Chaos versus Insomniacs 2? No other juice to it. Because that's
what you just said. No, what you just said was, hey, let's watch Trey Robinson bully a bunch of kids that don't know how to play this game. He's seasoned, a champion from the original spot of where this game came from. Let's go watch him bully the Ohio for a full year, then let's get destroyed.
Let's go watch him bring legitimacy to a team that you are saying is not legitimate.
Okay.
You're just saying that he's bullying because he's a champion and he's done it multiple times and he's a good player, is he not?
Makes it legitimate? One player. So what the hell is Ohio going to do? How are they going to cultivate
you're trying to break it down from a schematics, and I'm talking about the narrative. The narrative's
ass. The narrative's ass. In the broadcast, I'll love to sing the narrative with you, but on the pod, bro, the narrative's ass. Like no one really cares that Trey Robinson went to Ohio to shit on a bunch of guys who are not that good yet. You know what I'm saying? They're not there yet. They haven't done the work to pull everybody out and pull their best players together.
Okay,
and
what's one of the things they need to do as a division, Rob?
Recruit.
Okay, and if they're recruiting guys on the championship roster from the Insomniacs that put together a Vince Young from Texas like for performance in last year's, not this most recent, but last year's fall championship game against a Kryptonite team that was probably superior to his Pittsburgh Boston team.
That was pretty good.
It was pretty damn good, right? Yeah, and now look, we don't know who he is all the time, and to me, Trey Robinson reminds me a little bit of McQueen and a little bit of CJ in the things that we talk about with CJ and McQueen. And you don't have to agree with me. I think he looks like he's playing as McQueen, and I think he has the mental stuff that CJ has. And those are good quarterbacks to be compared to. And what I'm saying is in the same vein as John Gauze going and not being one of the quarterbacks for the best team in the DMV, but going to be the quarterback on a competing team in the DMV to give the champs of the DMV a run for their money. In the same vein, a guy from the championship team from Las Vegas, whether the guys in Vegas love him, whether the guys in Ohio love him, whether guys in Pennsylvania love him, whatever, the fact is that the storyline would make the Ohio division games a lot more interesting to have that. And like you said, recruiting being a big thing, that's what I think that the conversation is. If there is a little bit more of the spread of talent, a trickle down, not a full, let's break up the Insomniacs into two teams, that would be silly. But if there's a little bit of a trickle down, for instance, would it not behoove, let's say, the entire league, not the Insomniacs as a team, and maybe not even the division of Vegas as a division, but if they have that kid Juice at running back, and they have Devontae Carter, and they have RTC at running back, wouldn't it be interesting to see maybe one of those three guys play running back for a competing team in Vegas, as opposed to those three guys rotate in through the game, don't ever get winded, and constantly grind down defenses into powder? Because I would say that if your argument with Sick With It is, well, what are they with a feature running back? Not that their running backs are bad right now. I think there's other things going on with Sick With It that they can improve, and they will. But Devontae Carter on Sick With It against the Insomniacs, and Devontae Carter has like a 10 carry, 160-yard game.
Well, they should have. If that's great for the league, then they should have recruited him. So my thing is, I'm not saying that the Insomniacs need to get rid of players. Hear me out. What I'm saying is, okay, like, because there's always this talk about parity. When are we going to start holding these teams accountable for finding these players? First things first, the Insomniacs were a nothing team the year before. They got I blanked
James
on the head coach's name. That my
Coach
guy.
James.
Yeah, Coach James. Yeah, Coach.
I never pronounce his last name. I always butcher.
Yeah, his last name trips me out. I'm sorry, but Coach James, right? Coach James brings his guys. The reason why, and this is one of the arguments they had when it came to the super team thing, they didn't go and pull all their stars and their studs off of other teams. These guys were already together somewhere else. They came to the Insomniacs, dominated and won. Now they just so happen to have Scooter, RTC, who's the best running back in the league in the West and arguably in the league. Trey Robinson, who was always solid and a game changer, and even Anthony Smith with the experience. So it's like that argument for them is like they didn't pull from anywhere except those guys, sure, and they have a solid squad already. What's stopping all these other teams from doing the same recruitment process?
I feel like it comes down to what you're saying, Rob, and it comes down to these players making that decision. Like you can't, as a league, truly intervene on things like that because it's not our fucking job. It's not our job. At least as announcers, our job isn't to recruit for you guys. We want people in this league to be successful. We want every team to be successful and be competitive. But the problem is, and as every other sport, some people are able to recruit. Some people are able to build teams. There are teams in this league that can recruit some of the best players in the league, but they're not able to convert it on the other side. And we see that every single year. And I think that's going to be the big... Because the reason why I found this... To go back to my initial point we started about 10 minutes ago, and that's how great this fucking conversation has been. If you don't like this show and you're a fan of the A7FL, and you don't like actual...
Give us a call,
516-387-A7FL. That's 516-237-A7FL. But when it comes to this year, why I think it feels bigger is that I think there's more stakes this year, not money, not the prize for the champion, but I think there's way more pride this year on the line for everybody involved. And it's not just Nevada, it's not just.
Well, I think that's why you saw the overcorrection from BIC.
Yeah, and the BIC
looked at their roster. They could have stand pat because on paper last year, beginning of the season, championship, possibilities. They were maybe the favorite. Who knows if that even matters at all. But did they stand pat with their loaded roster from last year?
It would have taken acts of God to take the BIC out of the championship hunt. And guess what happened? They ran into things that they could, if they could control the elements outside of the field, they would win every game. But they can't. You can't control every aspect of every player in you.
Well, Matt, you can because it's your job as a manager, a coach, a guy who's running a team.
But let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. In this league, there are players, and this is in every sport too, who are in it for themselves and in it for the personal it for the spotlight. Nothing else but the spotlight.
You win that championship, Rob. What happens to guys sometimes? They take a step back, bro.
You're not going to be the same team the following.
And it's not necessarily fair to do this, but who was the standout player for you, Rob Fabian, in the championship game in which BIC beat the U in a great game that will go down in history as one of the greatest ever? And you were watching that game and you were enamored with which player?
The BIC versus the U and Chip in 2022.
The fact that you're not remembering him is telling of my point, but whose name were you saying over and over and over again?
For sure. Virardi, for sure. Yeah,
and where was he last year? And this is no disrespect to him because it's not necessarily his fault. There was a lot of things other than just the specifics of are you good or not going on with Virardi. It was health. It was consistency.
Yeah, we're talking injury. We're talking.
It was the guys around him weren't giving him the same support and whatever. That's what happens in a championship run, is it not?
Having to spin the block. Really pay attention. Pay attention exactly what I'm telling you. Go back.
Insomniacs.
Do your research. No. I'm not talking about Insomniacs at all.
No, they're the champion.
No, I'm not talking to them either.
The defending champion.
No, I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the league as a whole.
Absolutely.
Let's go back.
But this applies to you, Insomniacs.
Yeah. Go ahead. Listen, I'm talking to the league. I don't want them
and you
to
wonder
feel like
why people get pissed off at you.
You know what I'm saying? Right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking to them.
I never wonder. A, B, I've had specific conversations with people that are high ranking in the Insomniacs kind of hierarchy that are a little bit worried about the thing we're talking right now. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, they should be, but that's not what I'm necessarily talking about. If you pay attention to what year, Matt, because I'll give you that because I know A7 started in a specific year. What year?
That was 2014, 10 seasons ago.
Okay, so let's go. It's not that long, so let's go over the champions from each year and see if they're still here. 2014 champions were the U, right?
Yep.
They're still 15? Here. Who were the champions? The U.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They're still here. Who were the champions in 16?
Yep.
BIC, right?
Yep.
They're still here. Who were the champions in 17? The Chiefs. Gone. 2018.
Gators.
Gone. 2019.
Mortals.
Gone. And this is what I'm trying to explain to people. It's heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Don't finish it. Finish it. 20.
No, 20 goes to
U.
21 U. 21
22 BIC. 23 Insomniacs.
Then Insomniacs. Now, what I'm saying is, heavy is the head that wears the crown, because when you have to spin the block, you do not have the same vitch. Shouts to the U for repeating several times, but going back to back is why the U is going to probably go down in history as the best team in the A7 FL era, right? But it's very difficult to do that. People are not as motivated.
And people will say that the 2020 people will say that the 2020 chip, because it was the Salas 14 tournament, that we don't even necessarily are going to count that. So when you look at the history of the A7FL, there's been one time in which, honestly, a team has gone back to back, and it was in the still early years where there wasn't the spread around divisions as we currently have. So when you really look at it, every single year except for one season in the A7FL, because the Salas season doesn't necessarily, we were the first ones back.
There's an asterisk. There's an asterisk.
So let's remove the asterisk. No team but the U in the first two seasons of the league has ever repeated. Let's repeat that. No team has repeated back to back since the first 2 years in the league, in which, and correct me if I'm wrong, we still only had the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland divisions.
That's still, and then even then, I'm not going to lie, it was more competitive. There's more parity in those three than there are spread out now.
Not going to lie, those U teams and those journeys that those U teams took were legendary and great. And there's probably nostalgia there. Guys, when we remember the times past, all of the things that you hear, specifically here, and everything that's a part of all of those games, you remember much more fondly than maybe it is currently. So let's just remember that. But the fact is when you really look at it, what happened to BIC the next year?
Oh, we fucking tanked, bro. Like,
And the defense, let's say the defense was at worst rebuilding. Their loss, my loss, I will take credit for it. My loss in the Final Four against the Insomniacs. The defense, we scored 40,
against the Immortals.
I always say that. I always say that Insomniacs. I'm sorry, Immortals. It's a Freudian slip. It starts with an I. It sounds weird.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good.
Immortals, Pennsylvania Immortals. 55-40 was that game.
Right.
I passed for
high scoring game again.
But that defense was not the same defense that shut down the Chiefs that previous year. And then what happened to the Chiefs? What happened to the Chiefs and their? We didn't get cheated. We lost.
We did. We got cheated.
Excuses.
But the Chiefs,
I lost.
The Chiefs. Well, you can say that. I can say we got cheated. I know they're going to kill
I wasn't.
I'll take accountability for it.
I have no opinion on the
playoff win. So
the Chiefs were
what happened to the Chiefs?
The Chiefs were on a miraculous A7 run.
A Buffalo Bills-esque situation, and they finally broke through.
Right. I'm talking. They went to the champ. They
didn't make the playoffs the next year.
In 24, no, they fell apart.
But
that's
kind of the central thesis.
They won the championship in 17, 18, didn't win the championship. I mean, didn't make the playoffs. 18, Gators win. They barely made it to the playoffs the next year. Immortals win. We've never seen them again.
They're gone. And
the U beats BIC, and then the next year they lose to BIC. How many times, Rob?
3.
So the fact is that I said this, and everybody can say that I'm an asshole, and maybe I am. I'll take it. Tell me, what's the number, Matt? Call
516-387-A7FL. That's 516-387-A7FL.
But me saying, Insomniacs, listen to this. It's not to disparage the holy, mighty, great Insomniacs. No. So don't act like that. What it is it's an actual factual.
I still don't know why you're talking directly to them, because this has
warning.
I feel like, you want me to be honest. I feel like they're the team.
They won, and we're talking about every team
I'm least worried about with
shit
them. Like that, because the way they recruited, this is a group that has existed and has been able to roll in people and roll people out. The only time I would get nervous if the Insomniacs were, I would think they're in trouble, at least winning the West, is if they lost Kenny Mack or they lost RTC. Because
you can say that, and on paper, just like we did last year, it's the exact day. If you go back to the exact day that's the closest in proximity to today, last year, and we did a pod, what did we say about BIC? Nope, can't lose. We did the win-loss, the win-dog, lost dog.
Well, here's
and
why.
What we said is the worst that BIC could be is undefeated, because they're
and here's the reason why I'm saying that is because we saw what happens when players don't prioritize this game.
There it is.
And I feel
and
like
what are the last 2 appearances that we see?
And that's what I mean is like, just like give me some space. Just give me some space. I don't talk much on this show, so I know it's a weird thing to hear me talk when it's not the game and I'm not yelling, but I actually do have opinions on football. I'm sorry that they're terrible, but reason why I say RTC and I say Kenny Mack is because those 2 are the guys that can get you through a second half. When they show up, it's usually in games where they don't care. It's usually in the second quarter or the second half. And the Insomniacs don't really get into high gear until those guys are fucking warmed up. So if you lose either one of those weapons...
And does that bode well for their championship repeat?
But no, here's what I'm saying. If they don't take these games seriously, if they don't take these games seriously during the regular season and the playoffs, they may get one popped up on them. But the problem is the secondaries in Nevada are porous. And they just picked up Daniel Packer, and whether or not you think Daniel Packer is still an upper tier player, because he even says I might have lost half a step or so, that's still taking away one of the premier secondary players in a division where it's an air raid. And the only time you can really get any, like, the Insomniacs can throw the ball, but if we took a look at the plus-minus differentials on turnovers in this league, these guys throw the ball like a motherfucker, and if you don't have a guy like Kenny Mack who can give Scooter time, Or you have a guy like RTC who can be the bell cow of an offense and give Scooter a break, because the Devontae Carter, Juice, all these guys, Devontae Carter coming off an injury and a suspension. Juice is in the league, this is his first, I think, first national season. RTC's been here since Nevada started. Kenny Mack played on Saturdays on national television. These are people who have been there before. And if you take those two players out of that situation and it's next man up, that 1 second, that 1 yard, that aggression, that leadership, if that's missing, we saw with the BIC. If the next man up doesn't have the trust of the person calling the plays, and you have to overcompensate on the other weapons, you're opening yourself up. The thing that gives the Insomniacs any saving grace is that they have the best defense in Nevada. They do.
But the point isn't the talent on their list.
No, but
of
it
names.
shoots them enough bail. It shoots them enough bail for the offense to figure it out in real time. That's not going to be possible in the playoffs.
But my point isn't anything to do with any of those things, because those are all true. What's going to hurt the Insomniacs has nothing to do with the schematics. It has nothing to do with the roster. It has nothing to do with the talent level. It has to do with the will to do the things necessary to be a champion. And what the point and the conceit of this little segment of the conversation is look at the history of our league. The only team that managed to do it is the U, and every other team did not. When you go down the list of names of all of those teams, they go from year to year. A lot of those guys are the same core groups of guys on the roster. When you look at what happened to the Insomniacs, it would be my argument that the worst thing that could happen to them in that fall is just roll out of bed like it didn't matter, play the Alienators in the playoffs, allow for a game that looked a lot closer than it should have been, and then give Sick With It the hope that they're that close, because just look at the BICU rivalry, because that's kind of what this Insomniacs Sick With It rivalry is.
All right. Okay, I'll let you go long enough. Hell no. I'm sorry that this.
So you're willing to do this and be wrong, just like you were with BIC last year.
No.
The U was washed, and you were selling them out. They beat BIC twice last year.
Stop. Okay. That's not what's being said. Like, when I tell you throw the goalpost everywhere else, but what we're actually talking, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue.
Talking about.
Hold on. Wait. But you keep targeting the Insomniacs and then saying
they're the champions. How is that weird?
Hold on. Wait. Stop.
How is that weird?
Cory, let Rob speak.
Hold on. Yes. Give it a Cory. I get it. The season's in less than a month away. You're horny. You're ready to go. Relax. I'm on your team. Okay. Chill out. What I'm saying is, talking to the Insomniacs is irrelevant. They're going to do the same shit they've always done. They haven't lost any players. Packer's not some all-star guy that's taken away from another team. Everybody keeps trying to get rid of Packer anyway. He's probably found a home where they can actually use him for what he's good for.
And doing a podcast.
So that's irrelevant too. Right. Shouts to that. But that's irrelevant too. What I'm saying here has nothing to do with the Insomniacs as a whole, and more so the state of the league.
It's a systemic issue,
we're not saying.
But I'll shoot Cory some bail here. Using
are we talking about champions the league?
No, Cory talks so much he shoots himself in the foot. So when you shoot him bail, it does nothing.
I'm gonna reframe and reset the conversation.
Mentioning the champions.
I am the host of the show.
Wait.
I am the host of the show. I don't do this that much, but I'm the host of the fucking show. Thank you. I'm going to reframe the conversation. What Rob is saying is that there is a systemic thing in the league, and there is in sports too. If you look up the Ewing theory, or if you read the Book of Basketball by Bill Simmons, you'll see what the fuck he's talking about. And if you look at how sports goes, things happen in waves, and championship teams and teams that have relevance have very limited windows. And in this league, the U seem like an outlier. Cory's making the point, hey, Insomniacs, this, if you don't look at history, this is what's going to happen to you. But Rob's looking at telling the whole league, yo, if you are recruiting, if you are looking to build a team, you always have to be active. That's what keeps Ryan, the BIC and the U always in the mix. That's why the Insomniacs are in the mix, because they have great recruiters, and it goes back to our initial conversation. If you're unable, right, this league is just like the NCAA. If you are a team or you are a division and you don't have someone out there like Coach Prime going from town to town, city to city, getting and selling a dream, you are selling a championship. You're selling being on national television. You're selling being viral. Like, I don't know why it's that hard. Like, I get it, but there's a player base. There's a lot of people who want to make a name for themselves in this league. We know that for a fact. And it's whether or not you have the tools to make a team. And like the Alienators, they got on a hot run, but that's not going to be what the Pit Bosses look like in the spring. Like the Hunters are going to look different. We don't know what the Force are going to look like. We don't know what the Gold are going to look like. We're going off of a lot of intel that's kind of shaky, but there's a universal truth. If you recruit and you understand what division you're in, you can win. If you're asking,
but then why did we poo-poo the hypothetical opportunity to get
because Trey Robinson is a here it is.
Fucking
it's signing a marquee player to a team to a situation where it's not going to be that. It's going to be great. It'll make the games more interesting. It'll make the heist chaos games have a little bit more flavor to them on top of the other stuff, and it'll be nice to see a player like Trey Robinson in a new environment. But the problem is, the same old problems are going to pop up for the chaos. It's not the solution.
Well, what were their problems? Let's be clear.
The
what were their problems?
The problem was the Insomniacs.
Well,
they ran into a wood chipper, and games weren't close.
We heard Brent Smothers cry about it over and over again. His offense couldn't complete a pass. They couldn't run complex plays. They had no identity on offense. And when they were playing the Insomniacs, they turned the ball over like 5 times on their defense. I'm not necessarily agreeing with him, but then why are in this scenario? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about parity versus, playing for the championship. So then why is the move to Trey Robinson to BIC also being poo-pooed?
Because it's stupid. Yes,
because
the rich get richer.
Yeah, it's a cherry on a sundae that has enough garnish.
So then how are we against the poor getting richer?
No. It's situational arguments. Because it's not generalities. It's not if so then that.
That's not a generality. That's a specific player and two specific destinations.
But you're putting him in different two teams with 2 different paths, 2 different needs, and 2 different eventualities.
One is add to a roster that isn't as good to elevate, and one is join a roster.
Yeah, but it's not.
Hold on. Are we talking about parity? Right, we're talking about parity. So why the hell would we want just one Trey Robinson?
I have the perfect example, and I want to end on this because we're arguing and it's not being fun. It's fun, but it's not fun. Trey Robinson going to the Chaos is like when Huff went to the Animals. For this reason, hold on, you got to let me. It's not a direct because it gives them as much of a shot as the Chaos as the Animals did about winning the division and winning the chip. It gives them. It's the same comparison. You put Huff on the Animals are better. But when they get deep into the playoffs and they run into the same situations that always cut them down, they're still going to get cut down, no matter because one player isn't the solution. And go ahead.
I got a question because I haven't really been able to get any of the points off because both of you keep kind of stopping me because you're trying to explain to Cory what I'm trying to say, but Cory's still gonna Cory. And you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is I don't see the 1-to-1 comparison. You're saying take Trey Robinson and put him in Ohio is compared to Huff on the Animals. Huff on the Animals is still in New Jersey. Trey Robinson in Ohio is in Ohio.
Let me add a layer to it because that's what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do. Huff going to the Animals gives them the same shot of winning the Northeast as Trey Robinson going to the Chaos gives them a shot at winning the championship. Does it improve it a little bit, but it doesn't solve the problem. No. It's not guaranteed.
But my question to that exact statement was, who won the division in Ohio last year?
Did. But it's not about the division. So it's not about the division.
No, wait. Trey Robinson going there and losing in the same spot that the Chaos did last year literally does nothing for them. It's the same exact thing it's you putting a cherry on top of a pile of shit and telling me that it's a Sunday. It doesn't change anything. Where the Animals can upset a team. They can really fuck stuff up. If the Watchmen came in and were understaffed because they thought the Animals were sweet, they could have lost.
Who did the Animals upset last year?
They had a good game against the Animals. If I'm not mistaken, it was like 61 or something. It wasn't a bad game at all. The Animals.
No, the Animals and Watchmen in the playoffs was a 7-point spread. But who did the Animals upset with Huff as their quarterback?
Nobody.
I don't think they've upset anyone.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's the exact same thing.
Virtually, they upset everyone because the Animals are supposed to lose every game.
Well, last year.
Compared to the last
comparing to a Chaos team that we thought a year ago were going to get run over by the Covington Heist every single time they played, and they ended up making the Western Conference Final. I feel like it's an equitable comparison because we know Huff on any team gives them a shot at making the playoffs. Trey Robinson on any team gives them an opportunity to win their division. But that's what I'm saying is like it's not getting you to the next level. It's getting you further, right, but it's not getting.
What do we want?
No, but that's the thing. It's like moving goalposts.
So what are you saying the Chaos should do?
What do we want? We said it 30 times. Recruit. Not sign people.
It's not just one player. It's not one player.
It's not one player that's going to solve the issues. Ohio needs to recruit better, higher caliber players, better players. And that's why when you took it to the Insomniacs, I was confused because I'm not talking to the Insomniacs. I'm not talking to anyone in particular. I'm talking to teams because we keep talking about this parity versus, because the whole beginning of the conversation was, hey, with the Watchmen splitting up like they did, and now John Goss going to the Nova Charge to now create more, it's more competitive in the DMV now. But does it fix the overall problem? No. Being that it's more competitive, though, more players are going to want to come play because they get a chance to shine. And then you're not sitting on the bench like freaking Trey Cohen, who's a star, who's sitting behind 2-3 number one receivers because he's a number one receiver. You get what I'm getting at? It's stuff like that. So recruiting is more important, in my opinion, than signing one Trey Robinson anywhere because it's useless. Trey Robinson going to BIC to do what? Block? He's not going to, there's nothing, it doesn't make BIC better or worse with Trey Robinson. It really doesn't. It doesn't move the needle at all. It just takes Trey Robinson away from Vegas, which, again, what does it do? What does it mean? I'm just against these useless movements that don't make a team better overall, that don't make a team
so it would
more
have
competitive.
Been better if Trey Robinson went to the Chaos. And you just are angry that the Chaos exists, so I guess that's not. I'm not angry that the Chaos exists. You're one track with the way you want to see certain things. So Trey Robinson, you think Trey Robinson going to the Chaos?
Not
late, bro. Really what you're saying is he can't go on. He's not doing anything on this team. He's not making it better.
I'm just trying to finish the point.
Chaos they need to get better.
Just trying to finish the point, Corey. Just got to finish the point, Corey. I get it. The season's about to start. I'm on your team. I'm saying Trey Robinson going there to beat up on a league that the Chaos already beat up on makes them no better than they were last year. At all, because there's no Ohio player that's a standout over there. We're not going to hit up Ohio and talk about them. We're going to talk about how Trey Robinson is beating the dog shit out of Ohio. They don't have better linemen. They don't have better running backs, better receivers, nothing. We're talking about Trey Robinson demolishing a whole division on his own. Instead of talking about Ohio improving as
the only positive it would have for the Chaos, it would move Keno Thomas to wide receiver full-time, and that would probably be a solid 1-2 combination to help. But it doesn't help them beat the Insomniacs or a hypothetical other Vegas team.
Well, first of all, we don't know that. Just like we didn't know that BIC was going to win the championship last year, did we? We said we did. We were wrong. That's all I'm saying. And I just
Cory, the way this shit works is we're gonna be wrong because at the end of the day, shit happens. The same way for the first half of the championship, I called it to a T. Then 2 Bunak blessings later, the Insomniacs are the champions. Listen, we can be analysts. We could have done this shit for 40 years straight. The game is still the game. And if motherfuckers that were on the roster don't show up for BIC, then no, they can't win. If Berardi is injured, they can't win. If Ashanti is injured, they can't win. If Matt Riddick is in Atlantic City playing a fucking flag game, no, they can't
win.
And
I think that's reinforced
all those factors aren't
a lot
there,
of pragmatism.
Are we're not talking about this? If those guys don't make those mistakes, and like I said, on Kenny's part, I was trying to say this too, if Kenny is not talking to his players and saying, yo, if you're picking flag over A7, get the fuck off my team. That's Kenny's job. So Kenny failed last year versus y'all thinking, oh, well, the life happens and things. No. As a recruiter, you make sure that these players are dedicated to A7 over flag, over pads, over all this other shit, because A7 is a short season. It's just right there. It's just a blip. Once that's done, but that blip will get you the most looks, most virality, most everything, except maybe money, unless you win the whole thing. That's the only thing that it won't get you. Other than that, most of these guys are going to get more looks from A7 than any other league that they'll play for. Kenny's job as a manager, owner, anything, is to make sure his guys are dedicated to an A7FL season, not a couple of games. And when a flag tournament comes up, you disappear, because that's why they lost. That's why they lost.
And now you're going to be mad at me, but right?
No, I'm not.
What are we talking about with guys like Kenny Mack? Guys like David Clark and Danye Lyons, who are actually in a legitimate professional flag league. It's a similar thing that happens. And if all I'm saying is if a championship team, no matter what their name is.
You don't have the answer to what you said. What are we talking about? I didn't give you the answer already. Recruits. I just said it.
But then you said the Insomniacs don't. I'm saying the will to do the things necessary is just as important as recruiting, because if guys aren't going to show up to every game because that team's ass, I don't need to be there, that type of attitude has bit just as many teams in the ass as it has served them for, like,
attitude, and I'm a 3-time champ, so I really don't know that.
And how many times did you win back-to-back if we're not talking about the Salas tournament?
There's only one team that went back-to-back.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So the back-to-back thing has nothing to do with that.
What do you think they did? If they got blessed, you not remember what happened?
Didn't they recruit to get Huff the year after the second year?
Do you not remember what happened in 2015? You don't remember, do you?
What,
BIC's best team. BIC's one of BIC's best teams in the league, who was the greatest show on turf, that scored on everyone at will. We lost because
on that miracle play.
Our cornerback tipped a freaking interception.
Didn't Martinez, the running back for the Chiefs, get hurt on like the first play of the championship?
Martinez was, bro, the Chiefs stood no chance. They got blown out. It was raining. I know. Big Mo was on Ramadan. There was a lot going on. Yeah, they got cooked. They stood no chance. But they got, listen, the Chiefs didn't belong there in 2015. That was my championship to win, and we lost it. We were supposed to win that one, but we lost. That's how the game goes, Cory. I think we forgetting that there's a luck. Luck is a real thing, right?
I think luck has been the biggest weapon the last 3 champs.
You can't leave it to chance. My last thing I'll say is, and you cannot leave it to chance if you want to repeat, especially. No, there is the chance, but that's what I'm saying. If you want to repeat, especially, but no matter what, you can't leave it to chance. You have to do all of the right things from the jump. And the conversation that I had, again, I'm not going to name the player or the coach or the GM or the
just
trainer.
Talk about the conversation. You don't got to say anything else but the conversation. What I'm saying. Yeah, just
the conversation I had with this Insomniacs personnel person is that the win, which was an easy win which they kind of didn't deserve against even the Alienators.
Holy shit.
And then the win against Sick With It, where they didn't put on their best performance, but they're still better. Like the friends are still better. That was not the wake-up call that they needed to start to kick it into gear, because it is a long season. A lot can happen. And if you don't approach
But the problem is they can still be the level, 2 seed.
The right way.
I don't think I feel like for them, losing a game in the regular season might be the best thing for them.
That's what I was saying. In the fall, which it doesn't count,
no,
right?
I don't even think. I don't think losing in the regular season would matter, because if they end up 6-1, they're still going to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed, and they still have to go through a division championship.
Well, and if they lose, let's say they lose to Sick With It, who is probably their biggest comp, right? Will they not be reinvigorated to bring everything back to 100 and fully press on the gas pedal?
Like we're all on the same page.
And so if they lost that game to Sick With It somehow, and we don't have to rehash what happened in that game either.
I don't know if it would have given. It would have mattered more in the regular season. I think it only matters more when the money's on the line.
Yeah, fall don't matter, bro. Fall don't matter.
The Insomniacs lose to Sick With It, and you don't think that there's
juice to that? No, there's juice to it, but I don't. It matters.
It would be a wake-up call for sure.
It would be like, okay, we've got to actually try now and show up on time. It's not going to be them locked in.
Which is what I'm talking about. That's what we want them to do.
It's like, okay, it's empathetic. It's not empathetic. It's apathetic. It's an apathetic okay. It's the I'll try. It's not the I'm here. Yeah.
Right now, they're laissez-faire. They're blase-blah. They're laissez-faire. They know they're better.
Well, wouldn't you be if you woke up every day and dropped 56 on a bum-ass league, since we're talking about parity so much? Vegas has to do better at recruiting for the bottom teams.
What would wake you? My point is, what would wake you up, Rob, is not
losing in the chip. Fuck all that. Let's just cut and dry. If and when the Insomniacs, I did the same thing you did. If and when the Insomniacs lose in the playoffs, that'll wake their asses up. Since you want to talk about the Insomniacs,
if I were putting money,
I like the Insomniacs guys. That's a little too late for them to wake up this season, right? That's a little bit too late.
I feel like
so if they woke up,
if I put money on the Insomniacs against the field to win the West. I'd have to bet a rack to win $100.
Yeah, 10 to 1. 10 to 1 odds. That's right. That's where it sits. But based on precedent, based on where this league is now, it's a different situation with the Vegas division versus the typical where the league was like 5, 6, even 2 years ago.
Indeed.
But the precedent is set that even though the 10 to 1 bet feels safe, BIC was a 10 to 1 favorite, and they beat the Watchmen head to head. They didn't win the Northeast. Football is not always about the list of names, and that's what we warned BIC when we were talking about them being the what did Derek call them? the
night crawlers
and Christers. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That to kind of fall through now too, right? This is insane.
Well, we alluded to it earlier, so I could just break kayfabe too. So, but so recap. Trey Robinson, don't go anywhere. It's stupid anyway. Recap. Champions don't always repeat in this league. Does not affect the Insomniacs whatsoever while you're talking about them.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter up until the championship.
Right? Probably not.
Yeah, it really don't. I mean,
if it matters, first of all, if it matters in the championship, it will matter. And if it matters before the championship, then the championship's not going to happen for the Insomniacs.
I actually have an important question.
Oh yeah, go.
Do you guys want to wear tracksuits next season?
For the show?
I'm gonna share. Our production staff has been given an unfair amount of power. I have abdicated. Here's big news. I am no longer the senior producer of the A7FL Games of the Week. I am now the producer emeritus, or at least that's the title I'm giving myself.
I ain't gonna lie, that's like fire.
First of all, Matt, are you turning us into a street level thug?
So I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna put these on
that Daredevil's gonna beat up in Hell's Kitchen.
If you don't watch the video version of the podcast, you're hurting my feelings because I put a lot of work into it, and I think it's really cool.
That color's saying something.
This is a tracksuit sent to us by our new content producer, David Soberman, and these are sweatsuits. And
look at the pants.
And
look at the jacket. No, I don't want the jacket. I don't want the jacket.
Yeah, you have to change. You have to change on the jacket. You have to change the second letter above where his, we'll say hip is to another state that he obviously is clearly.
But
against.
I don't hate the jacket. Either. I don't hate the jacket.
No, I like it.
But we can get him in.
Is it velour? The most important question: is it velour?
I'm asking now.
If you're gonna put writing on the butt, it's gotta feel like
that part I'm nixing right
the late
now.
90s,
that part will never see the light of day.
Yeah, that's a joke. Your team is ass is crazy.
I mean, those are your pants, Rob. I mean, that's your trademark.
But we are gonna have new stuff on the games of the week. We are 4 Sundays away, guys, and next week on the show we'll tell you more about it. But we've been.
You know, that's actually Rob's tattoo, right? He has a tramp stamp that says your team is, and then it leads down into what
and we brought it
answer.
Back around, baby. That's why we're the best podcast about 7-on-7, no pads, no helmets football that actually tries. But for Big Rob Fabian, I'm Cory Hammond. You know the spiel by now. You can like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring the notification bell for whenever A7FL Games of the Week are live. You can watch back catalog content of A7FL games now on sports.tv. That's right, sports.tv. You get the 2021 season on there now, so you can see Rob finish his career, and me and Cory call a couple of games in between there with Jack Bartek and LJ Smith. And we also have a new uniform sponsor in the A7FL. Mm-hmm. Berserk Athletics is the new official uniform partner for the A7FL and a part of our TNT ticket and t-shirt promotion. If you want to come to an A7FL game, you want to meet me and Cory live on March 24th at Asbury Park Stadium or any of the A7FL locations across the United States, you can head on over to a7fl.com/tickets. That's a7fl.com/tickets. You can get opening day tickets, ticket and t-shirt promotion. Get a free season 10 t-shirt, which is pretty dope. You can see it right here on the
on the TNT promotion.
But I really like the shirt. It's really cool. Got all the teams on there. Yeah, you see it on your screen from our new friends over at Berserk Athletics, the new uniform partner of the A7FL.
Rest in peace, Omegas.
What?
Yo, chill, cool.
The Purple Moon Knight.
R.I.P. Moon Knight. He was such a sweet boy.
Purple Moon Knight.
He was such a sweet boy. But for Big Rob Fabian, for Cory Hammond, I am Matt Ryan saying, as always, don't be an asshole.
And for more A7FL, check out the unscripted Cin City podcast featuring Brent Smothers and Dale Hathaway. No. And latest news, I know we're breaking news late, guys, because I'm trying not to be an asshole. We're breaking late news late. I talked to Derek Duncan, the next team name opening up for Vegas, guys. Listen to this. Cin space C period Tiger. The Cincy Tigers are the new Vegas team when another team opens up. Cincy. That's cool, right?
This is
awesome.
Why they hate you. This is why they hate you. I swear to God, this is why they hate you.
What? You know I'll try.
And they're velvet.